How's it going, fam? Erica back with the Essentials, and today we are doing a very fun video on a knife that I have been waiting for as long as my existence has been here. Before we get into it, let's just drag it out a little bit, make some suspense, right? That's always fun. I don't do unboxings on the channel. I think they're stupid, so we're going to build up suspense by talking about not the exciting knife first and build a little bit of a story. So, as you guys know, the Benchmade 940 has been one of my favorite knives for a very long time. I've gone through a lot with this knife, especially this literal one in particular. As you can see, it kind of became famous for being so disgusting and for me beating the shit out of it. Everybody has seen my 940. It is just, well, it's disgusting in the best way. And this has become a staple in my collection. This is just one of my favorite knives of all time. I recommend it to everyone, and it is an essential. It is an Erica's essential. However, I always dreamed in my sweet, sweet dreams at night that one day there would be a fixed blade version of the 940. Why? I don't know, because it would be cool. I love fixed blades. I think they're underrated. I think that they have a little bit of a superiority and strength over folders, and I just thought it would be really cool to one day have a fixed blade version of this knife. However, Benchmade has never given that to us. We just have the folders. But a genius, one of the best men of all times, Sir Kyle Noseworthy in Canada, he has created a fixed blade version of the 940. Let's take a look at it. So here we have the Kyle Noseworthy Tradesman. You guys aren't ready for this. This is literally more exciting than your mom. What the beep? What the beep, 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 beep. Look at this thing. This is freaking awesome. This is the Kyle Noseworthy Tradesman, which is really a fixed blade version and obviously a little bit of his own twist on the Benchmade 940. There are a ton of similarities. This knife is absolutely gorgeous. So let's just go over a little bit of a backstory on him. I'm not sure how many of my viewers are aware of Kyle Noseworthy. I've been watching his channel since he started making knives. He's been around for quite some time, but he's in Canada, so I'm not sure how many people know about his channel. He does have a huge following. I think they're just mostly Canadian, but he lives in Newfoundland, Canada. He's a homesteader. He makes knives in his shop. He can do anything. He's one of those guys that can literally do anything, like work on cars, build houses, make knives, obviously. So he's always loved the 940, and as far as I know, somebody contacted him asking if he could make like a one-and-done knife for a construction worker or a blue-collar worker or a tradesman. And this is what he came up with. I guess he figured that the 940 was one of the best EDC knives for a tradesman. It has a lot going for it. It's kind of a jack of all trades. It can be a pry bar, it can be a screwdriver, it can be a cutter. It can do anything pretty well. So he took this design and ended up drawing up the Tradesman, which is just a fixed blade version of it, ideally, but with some huge pointers leading in the direction of being, a little superior to the 940. So let's put them side by side, and then we're going to talk about all the good stuff about the Tradesman, which I honestly love that name. Even just the name is very cool to me. So as you can see, pretty darn close in length. The 940 is a long knife. So pretty close in length here. Obviously, we see some huge resemblance with the tip on both of these, that reverse tanto tip. We definitely have more belly on the Tradesman, which is a huge plus in my opinion. I think that's what the 940 lacks, is belly for some people. Your edge longevity is just pretty short with this blade, just because the blade height is so short, so you really don't have a ton of life in this to sharpen it. You're just going to get thicker and thicker behind the edge with this knife. Again, not a huge problem, but if we're looking for ways to improve this, that's one of them. So Kyle has added edge longevity to this. We have way more height with this design. We still have the swedge. We still have the absolute pry bar thickness of the 940. Still keeping in touch with the ergonomics. We have a very slim, elegant design all the way through. And very thin for a fixed blade. You have a really thick blade stock, but he did not add a ton of handle material to this. It is very thin, which is what we like about the 940. It's pocketable. Very similar. This is camo micarta or G10, one or the other, but it is camo. We have a nice little pin there, lanyard hole, a very unique sharpening choil that I've never really seen before. I've seen hundreds of sharpening choils, never something like this. This is really interesting. It's literally like a perfect little dome, like a little half circle. Interesting design there. A flat grind? Or maybe a saber. It's not hollow. So you have a lot of strength there. Beautiful bevel. I actually really like the width of this bevel. I think it's going to lend really well to slicing better. So one of the issues with the 940 is the bevel is super steep on it, so unless you put it to 15 degrees per side, it doesn't slice very well. That's something that I've been preaching about the 940 for a while now, is to just lay that edge way back so it slices better. This looks to be coming with a pretty big bevel, which means that you are increasing the slicing capability of this knife because the stock is so thick. With this bevel being that large, this is going to lend it to be a way better slicer. Beautiful mirror polish. He does this all by hand, all in-house. Absolutely gorgeous. So this is an 01 tool steel, which is really neat. I love tool steels. I love the way they patina. Granted, this one is a forged finish, though, so it's not going to patina as much because it's kind of already done for you. He probably did that to preserve the knife in itself. But so we have 01 tool steel. It is forged. He does it all in his garage, or his shop, I should say. Hand finished edge. He does all the sharpening freehand. Nice choil, really thick blade stock, all the goodies, super ergonomic and incredible in hand. One of the things that is really cool about fixed blades is you don't have to be as limited with length, because when you're putting a knife in your pocket, you only want it to be so long because you don't want to compromise your movement with, you know, a huge folder in your pocket, right? So for me, the 940 as a folder is as long as I can go. Otherwise, it just starts to compromise my movement. But with a fixed blade, because it's in a sheath on your belt, you have a little more flexibility with length of carry because it's not in your pocket. So if you don't mind having something on your belt, you can go as long as you want, really. And there are no knife laws in New Hampshire, so I can wear a machete if I would like to. This is a perfect length for me in terms of a fixed blade. My hands are what most people would call small. However, for a female, I have larger hands. My hands are pretty large for a female, but everyone says I have peanut hands. That's because all of my viewers are men. So, really nice length on this. The blade gives you tons of length, but it's not too long. It's really a nice carry. It's a slim, elegant carry with a ton of strength, and it just feels like the perfect size for me for a fixed blade. I also feel that Kyle did an incredible job with the symmetry on this knife. When you are doing things by hand, like everything by hand with hand tools and stuff, that can be really hard. I have only found one point of concern in terms of symmetry, which is this swedge that he put on. It's completely uneven. That does not affect the performance of the knife at all, but it is something that I noticed right away. So on this side, we're looking at this swedge point here. As you can see, I'm trying to reflect the light right on the uneven point. On this side, the swedge ends much higher and at a less steep angle than this side. This is kind of like a 90-degree angle right here, and this one has kind of gently become subtle throughout that point. So you can really distinctly see that it's not symmetrical. There's just a hair of a difference between where this swedge ends and where this swedge ends. But because they are also ground uneven, it's just really a point that attracts your eyes. It does not affect the performance of the blade at all, and if you're not nitpicky about things, you shouldn't care. I don't care at all. I just like immediately was like, whoa, that's very uneven. So other than that, everything on this is absolutely symmetrical from what I'm finding. The edge itself is 100% clean and symmetrical through, which is really important for me. It drives me kind of nuts when companies don't put even edge bevels on. Spyderco overseas, I hope you're listening. They just cannot do even edge bevels for the life of them. I know it's hard, but it's just like, it's something that kind of drives me nutty sometimes if it's really bad. So for doing this by hand, this edge is absolutely stunning. Very even and clean throughout. That really matters to me. Nice and even on both sides. Also, the grind behind the edge looks to be almost perfect. This side, I feel, is just a smidge shorter right here than this side. Just a hair. But again, it's not going to do anything in terms of performance. It's really just aesthetics, and I don't care at all, but I know some people are super nitpicky, so I'm trying to point out that when you do something completely by hand in your own shop, sometimes the symmetry is just a little bit off, and if you care about that, then, you know, you can do as you please with that information. But other than that, everything is literally flawless. The scales are completely flush with the stock. You cannot feel any transition points at all on this. Like the finish, the quality, and the finishing touches on this knife are absolutely stunning. I have not felt a knife this clean for this price in quite some time. This is, we're talking like, I would say $450 worth of quality here in American dollars. And I'll bring in a knife that compares to this quality-wise. That is handmade. We'll bring in a couple comparisons, but this is just absolutely gorgeous. I did use this morning to do some dog food work. This is my one and only blade for today and for the next few days so that we can start testing it a little bit. I love O1 tool steel. I think it's a great steel for a fixed blade. Super easy to maintain. Great toughness. And this knife came razor fucking sharp. This is like a very scary sharp edge. It's just absolutely impressive. These are not in stock right now. They sell out immediately whenever you know, puts them on his shop online. They just sell out absolutely within seconds, understandably. But this is just a really cool blade so far. So there it is one more time in comparison to the 940. I cannot wait to use this. This is the best Christmas gift I've gotten in a while. I know I have a lot of cool ones on the way from people, but my best friends know me. That's all I can say is my best friends know me. So this is a really sweet blade. But let's bring in a couple of size comparisons if you are considering adding this to your EDC collection and rotation, just so you can get a really good idea of the size and the thickness on this bad boy. We'll start with some other folders. So we have a Chris Reeve Small Sabenza 31 here for a size comparison. Okay. So definitely larger than a small Sabenza 31. We will also bring in the Spyderco Para 3. So as you can tell, a little closer in length. However, the handle is way less bulky on the Tradesman. Next, we'll bring in a BGM Knives mini spade. I know you guys, a lot of you have picked these up since I've made videos on them, so I think this is a great comparison because this is a little tiny EDC fixed blade. Really chunky, thicker than your mama, but small, compact. So as you can see, the Tradesman absolutely dwarfs the mini spade in terms of length. This is such a cute little guy. This is just an absolute beast. One of my favorite EDC fixed blades of all time. Shout out to BGM Knives, always supporting John. All right, let's bring in the LT Wright Frontier Valley. This is one that I've been talking about and showing a lot on the channel. I think it's a great little elegant, slim EDC fixed blade. So the Tradesman, in terms of comparison to that, again, just shrinks this down. It's like, whoa, you're a little goo-goo baby. I've got two more to show you guys. We're moving up in length here to, you know, not really an EDC size. Granted, this Bark River North Country EDC is called an EDC knife, but it's a little large for most people. So here's the North Country EDC in comparison with the Tradesman. Basically same length. Obviously just way more belly on the Bark River, but very similar in length. And then the last one that I have to bring in is an Adventure Sworn knife. This is one that I've had for many, many years. This is the one that I would like to compare in terms of quality. So this is an Adventure Sworn Mountaineer. This is a handmade knife by a guy named Cody. This is the Mountaineer model, which is one that Joe Robinette uses all the time. I believe it became really famous through his channel and probably the Alone show that he was on. But this is the Mountaineer. It's a bushcraft knife. It's a very long knife, but super old school classic model with the Coke bottle handle. This is one that I kind of designed on their like custom builder thing before they switched over to doing like I don't think they're really doing book orders anymore like they used to. Like I said, this is like, I've had this for 5 years. This one's in 3V. But absolutely stunning. Anyway, this is a really long knife. We'll bring in the Tradesman. So the Mountaineer is definitely longer. I'll just put that in my hand for a second so you can kind of get an idea. And this is like straight up a, you know, a bushcraft knife. This is one that you would bring on a camping trip or something. But yeah, so definitely has some length on the Tradesman. And the reason I wanted to bring this in is just because, like I said, the quality I feel is comparable. So back in the day when I ordered this, I believe I paid $450 or $475 for this knife. Now this is absolutely immaculate. Like, end of story. Adventure Sworn makes knives for like professionals, like people that literally have like bushcraft channels and are like, that's what they do for jobs. It has to be immaculate. And that's what this is, the fit and finish on this knife. I've just never seen anything like this before, really. I think that's why Joe is such a huge fan of Adventure Sworn, and especially the Mountaineer model. It's just absolutely perfect. Fit and finish is incredible, but it is all done by hand, by, you know, people instead of robots or computers or machines. It's absolutely beautiful. But I feel that the quality and the attention to detail is really comparable. We really do only have that one minor swedge indifference there. But aside from that, the feel, the fit and finish, the, you know, the tolerances of everything, everything is flush. I mean, it feels like an Adventure Sworn knife. Other than that one little swedge thing, which again is just cosmetic, it really does feel insanely like a very high-end knife. Even just the quality of the handle scales, I just really haven't seen much like it in quite some time. And here's the thing. So hopefully nobody takes this the wrong way here. Let's bring in the BGM knife, right? So John, he does absolutely incredible work. His regrinds are fantastic. His symmetry is like scary good. And he's like 21 or 22. John's symmetry on his knives is like out of this world. I've just never seen anything like it, and I think that's why people know him for his regrinds so well. But, you know, with John's knife, I think the way he does this rock, I think he calls this a rock finish or something on the scales. I feel that the finish that he does on his scales, in conjunction with the hardware that he uses, it makes the knife look a little more homemade and a little more rugged and not cheap per se, but it's not as aesthetically pleasing. Does that make any sense? Like, if you look at this, you're like, okay, yep, that's a user. It's absolutely, it's a beautiful handmade product. But especially these Phillips screws here, they're almost like an eyesore. It's like bolts, pins would just bring this knife to a whole new level. Now, I have told John that. John actually did a survey before. He used to use like little Torx bits or whatever, or maybe hex screws, and he did a poll asking if people would mind if he used these. I think it's just a cheaper option. They're easier to take off to do scale swaps, and you know, it goes well with like what he's bringing to the table, which is a utility knife. And nobody really had a problem with him using these. Now, I did speak up. I wanted to be honest. So I said, John, I think if you go to Phillips screws, it just makes the knife look a little cheaper, especially, again, with the rough and tough finish of your scales. It just, when you take that, it's just not as beautiful. And that's fine. I don't care about beauty. But I do just, that's an interesting point to look at, you know? Because the blade is absolutely stunning. You take that blade and it's like, holy shit. Again, that symmetry is just insane. But that handle is just not as beautiful. It's not as beautiful. It's also not finished. You know, it's natural micarta. It's left as it is. It's a utility knife, and that's what it's supposed to be. But when you take it to the level of a beautiful glossed finish, polished pins, flush, smooth angles, that's what our eyes like to look at for the most part. You know, this is a utility knife, as is the BGM. It's a workhorse. It's meant to be used. This is 100% a utility knife. But Kyle has brought to the table aesthetics that are just top tier, and you're getting the quality and the you know, using the whole using process of a utility knife, but with these little gems throughout that bring a custom air to it, right? So it's really interesting, and like just the forge finish, but having a perfect edge, and like the way these scales are done, you can see the layers of this. I'm pretty sure it's G10. You can see the layers. I know the camera's not picking it up, but in real life you can, like, see those beautiful layers there of the handle material. It's just, it brings this knife to a whole new level when you put this at the table. And those angles, like, even just the way he did this butt end here, it's like, what the fuck? That's absolutely gorgeous. We're going on 26 minutes here, holy shit. But this is just an essential, guys. I can't even describe how cool this is. I'm trying my best, but just, it's absolutely stunning. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. The next time he drops these, definitely I suggest trying to pick one up. You would have to probably sign up for his email notifications or watch his videos. He always makes videos when he's dropping stuff to the shop. He does make a ton of other models. He makes something called the Bake Apple, which is like a little EDC knife, kind of comparable to the LT Wright Frontier Valley, but with a bigger blade height, and I think it's actually, it might even be smaller, shorter. Tons of options from Kyle. He's a fantastic guy. I can't recommend his work enough so far. Obviously, this is not a review. This is a first impressions. I haven't had it long enough to do a review, but just showing you guys some stuff that's coming to the table that you may be interested in. So there is the Kyle Noseworthy Tradesman. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have questions and comments down in the comments below. I will see you guys on the next video. I love you so much. Go use your shit. Go live your life. And I will see you guys so soon. I love every single one of you. Bye.